And this is Graphic Man's bathroom. One of the bathrooms. This is the one-of-a-kind light switches with underdog and riffraff. We made that. And the pattern is white and dark blue. This is some underdog dollar bills my wife found on the internet for me and framed them. Hopefully this can look a little better. You can still see that. Beautiful colors in those. I'm an old underdog fan and a Snoopy fan. Joe Cool. Here's our paraphernalia here. This is Porcupine of Pogo. They made a bunch of these cups, but I only have the Porcupine. Here's Snoopy and his dog dish, which is a soap dish. Some Spider-Man things. We have to turn this on late at night for a literature lad who doesn't like the dark. And big old mirror. And Snoopy clock. And it says that this is not a toy. So I guess people thought these clocks were toys or something. So disregard this door. This leads to some secret place. This is a tin. It's made out of metal. And it's based on a comic book cover with Flintstones at the World's Fair in 1965. And I really like the artwork. There's big red noses. There's a window, our shower. We're not going to show you, too many. That's the commode you don't need to see. On this side, my wife found these great little, I guess you call them shadow boxes of each Captain America, Iron Man, the Hulk, and Spider-Man. So behind them, they're kind of 3D. So if you go, here, maybe Captain America, watch his face. Goes from this side. Now he's facing that way. So, and there's little comic book pages behind them. So in this issue, Spider-Man had something in his pocket, like an envelope. You'd have to find the issue to figure out what comic that was taken from. And over here we have a large cast. Getting some glare. I don't really know how to handle that. So I'm going to try to turn off the light once again. That's too dark. But there's all the characters. You got Black Widow, Spider-Man, Iron Fist, Daredevil, Black Bolt, Medusa, Karnak, the villains from Captain America, Luke Cage, Venom, Ultron, Black Panther, Nova, She-Hulk, Spider-Woman, Loki, and the Falcon, Wasp, and MODOK. Now over here, believe it or not, I was watching PBS, that television show, America's Antiques, or Antiques Roadshow, I think that's what they call it. And someone had some cartoons from Little Folks. And Little Folks is drawn by Sparky. Now, Sparky is the nickname of Charles Schultz. And you can take a look at that dog, and you can see the beginnings of Snoopy. And you can see the beginnings of Charlie Brown. I think that would be Patty there. And this person had some originals of his first comic strip called Little Folks. Now my wife has framed and matted these with some nice shelf paper or something. This is the one I really wanted. This was a young Charlie Brown trying to sweet talk this little girl, and he is fascinated by her and her amazing collection of comic books. And so I found prints of them, and I photocopied or just printed, I should say, and my wife handled the rest. I've already showed you Underdog and that Underdog. So let me show you the doorknobs. Here is Spider-Man. It's a very large cabinet. And below him is the Hulk for one drawer. Another drawer is Captain America's shield. This one way down here is Iron Man. And then we have two cabinet doors here. Captain America. Now my wife bought these at Hobby Lobby, except they didn't have the Falcon. The only other one they had was the Marvel logo from the 1980s and 90s, and I didn't care for that. So we designed the Falcon, and we put him on the doorknob. And so now it's like it's back in the 1970s. You have Captain America and the Falcon together again. So here's this Snoopy toothbrush holder riding in his famous World War I plane. Some more Pez dispensers. The Batman is a washcloth. We've never opened it. And this is my famous Mysterio soap. It is actually a clear liquid soap. And my wife came up with this idea of putting Mysterio on this bottle. And I absolutely really kind of totally dig it. So that's the bathroom. Enough of that. And so now we're standing in our dining room. Not going to show you too much of the house, but some of this you might find a tad interesting. I have a glass door cabinet here, and here's the doors now open. Starting on the bottom level, I just have some old Coca-Cola stuff, my wife's Snow White lunchbox, some Dynabrite cups and saucers, and more Coca-Cola paraphernalia, and now here we have some Big Little books. And I will now adjust the light. We have some hardback Big Little books from my childhood. Some great Donald Duck, Mickey Mouse and the Magic Lamp, and some Pogo figurines. There's Albert. There's Pluto. That's the back of one of them. I need to turn that around for the front. Some Hulk books. And there's Howland Owl from Pogo. And here's the Flash Gordon Big Little book I've shown earlier. Get this out of the way. And there's Pogo standing there with a yellow hat. Behind Pogo is, from my childhood, a little cup that had a built-in straw made out of plastic. I used that several times as a child. There's my Donald Duck watch with the bumblebee on his beak. And above the cup is I think a Super 8, Incredible Hulk movie. It's black and white with subtitles. And to the right here, I've got a bunch of Pogo books. And there's Beauregard from Pogo and Spider-Man in his web shooting car. And some various odds and ends. Now on the far left, you've seen those two Big Little books before in another episode. Some Dick Tracy Big Little books, some crime and inspector books. I think I'll move one of these out of the way. Behind that, I have some very, very dangerous weapons from my previous life as a ninja or assassin. Well, let's take a look at this Incredible Hulk truck. It has the Incredible Hulk printed on the side, but what's really important is what's inside. Here's a little minivan next to it. Incredible Hulk, but I'm going to pick up this truck and I'm going to look in the back, and you would see an image of the Incredible Hulk in it if you were to look in it. And you could see it extremely clear and easy with your naked eye, and it's very difficult to film this, so you can get a hand. I'm looking in the back of the car. You can you see the Hulk in there. He's tearing up the inside of the truck. He's banging around, and I don't think it will hold him much longer. And on top of my glass cabinet is just some basic odds and ends. I no longer collect Coke, but in the background there, that big bottle, that's a glass 2-liter Coca-Cola bottle with a metal cap that you twist off. I've only seen one other. I don't know how. Maybe where you come from, they're all over the place, but I've only seen 2 in my entire life. There's an arrowhead. And now we're going to look at some of my other bookshelves here. This is one wall of our dining room. It's kind of part library, part dining room with the good-sized table in the middle there. Window leading to another room, another bookshelf, miscellaneous books. Now on top of my main shelves, I have nice little black boxes that are either closed or unclosed, and they contain some of my nicer books. I keep them in the dining room, not out in the big storage bins. Um, I try to get as many good books as I can inside the main house. Now, that's kind of tricky, fellas. If you're married, some of your stuff doesn't look too presentable, so you need to kind of disguise it and make it look better than it really is. And the best way to do that is to make everything look like it belongs on a bookshelf. Bookshelves are cool, and so here's some more big little books I have. Man from Uncle. Some in the background there are the more paperback. Uh, this company started producing Dick Tracy by the year, and then they went to a very larger format, and I'll be showing some of those much later on. Then more Dick Tracy, and then I'll show you some Woody Woodpecker and House of Secrets and House of Mystery that I have bound, and I'll show you those here in a minute. There's more encyclopedias, regular books, all kinds of books, you name it. And you've seen many a bookcase tour where they show you all their masterworks and epics, but these are my Fantastic Four. And they, of course, they reprinted the first few Fantastic Four in Masterwork, but then they quit. So these blue books I have, these are where I finished the series. So I can have issue 1 all the way to issue 416. So here are my Fantastic Fours that I've had bound, and I put the issue numbers on the spine so I can easily find it right on the shelf. Now, some of you guys won't appreciate this, but there are lots of bookbinders. I am not alone, and I would never want to sell my books anyway. So I want them in the main part of the house, and I want them to be right off the shelf where I can get my hands on them, not in white boxes in some storage facility. These are nice Mickey Mouse. Some of these are boxed sets. I'll try to pull one off the shelf here. And each box contains 2 volumes. They're by the great Floyd Godfredson, reproducing the old newspaper strips. And they are worth it. Good stuff. I'll try to show you the back here. The lighting's not very good, but inside contains 2 volumes. Good stuff. And the presentation on them, really, really nice. Next up is some books that I bound. When Gladstone took over from Gold Key, they reprinted all the good Floyd Godfredson in color, and so I have got those put in bound volumes. Then they teamed up with Donald Duck. Then they made Donald Duck Adventures by Gladstone Comics. I'm going to pull one off here of Mickey and show it to you. So here we have the Monarch of Mediocre. That was reproduced in several series of Walt Disney comics that I went ahead and bound into this volume. And I just think they look sharp. I'm a big fan of bound volumes. And don't worry, I still have tons and tons and tons of books in nice, cute little white boxes for those of you that want them that way. But I also have enough that I can go ahead and bind them anytime I want. Here's more Donald Duck Adventures. Gladstone started it. And then after issue 20, the Disney Corporation said, hey, we want a piece of this action. And they started producing them. So I put those in green volumes. They actually go between these 2 volumes here, 1 through 20 and 21 and on. But that's the way I lined them up. So here's my Dynabrite comics. I had these as a child, and as a child I always thought they should be bound together. So a long time ago I duct taped the spines together so I could have them all as one big volume. Of course, I've corrected that damage as an adult, and I've put them in this nice little book. I've made this splash page an index page of the Dynabrite comics I have, and then off to the side I showed the covers of the stories they originally appeared from. So this is my Disney volume of Dynabrite. Now I did throw in Star Trek because, well, I had a copy of it, and it was a Dynabrite comic, and so why not? It's my collection, I can do what I want. So we start off with, these are beautiful Dynabrite comics, and the colors really do pop, and I decided to put them all in this great little volume. Next to the Dynabrite, I have my Scamp Gold Key volumes 1 and 2. I took all the Gold Key issues and I bound them into these 2 volumes, and I decided to go with a white exterior and dark blue text. Now I didn't do these with the Dell issues, but I did them with Gold Key, and the Gold Key copies I had were what some people would call beta readers. That means they're not exactly mint condition, so really no harm was done, and there's no resale value, because I think a lot of you understand that my channel is not exactly for the resale market crowd, the investment in Amazing Fantasy 15 crowd. So as you can see, there's some wrinkles here, but I sure love them, and I just wanted them all in one great, easy to read volume. Still have a few of the ads. And this is the great Al Hubbard artwork. And those of you that are worried about the gutter or not being able to read them, actually you can read them very well. I don't really have any problem with that for some reason. They managed to put in just enough of the gutter that everything seems to be pretty good. You might have one word or two, but you can quickly figure out what it is. This is volume 1. There's the Phantom Strikes ad. It's a great ad if you've seen my video on scanned images. So those are the Gold Key. As you can see, there's one of the Dell Scamps on top. I didn't bind the Dells. Up next is the Walt Disney's Comics and Stories. Now obviously there's over 600 of these, and I don't have them all, and I don't have them all bound. But I did start with issue 422, and I go all the way to issue 592. And so we'll take one of these out at random. Opening up this volume, I have my title page that I've made. And since this is my family library now, I go ahead and just make my own word balloon and make my own title page. This tells you it's containing the issues 422 to 440. I give a little brief synopsis of what each issue has, who drew what each issue, does it have Carl Barks or not, so forth and so forth. And then we start in. There's issue 422. Here they're doing a Laurel and Hardy gag. For the spine, I told them, give me a font that has a very sharp point in the middle of the W, and I wanted to kind of do a two-tone, but gold lettering, and then for the subtitle make it smaller and white. And I just think the sharp point of the M and the W look really good and very close to the logo. And I like putting the double line at the bottom, a thicker line at the bottom and a smaller line. I just think they look really smooth. Dare I say, really professional looking. I have some of these comic albums produced by Gladstone back in the 1980s. These were a great way to reprint the good Carl Barks stories, and they were kind enough every now and then to put the cover image of the old Dell comics that it came from. Each one of these came with a collector card, which I still have. So those are the Donald Duck Adventures. Next to them are these Uncle Scrooge and Donald Duck books by Don Rosa. Let's get some better light here. And of course now they're even reproducing the Carl Barks stories in these hardback volumes. In here I also keep this Best of Walt Disney Comics produced in the 1970s, or at least from my childhood. This reproduces the first appearance of Uncle Scrooge. Here's their back cover. If you were born in the 70s, you probably remember this. And here are the Walt Disney Comics and Stories by Carl Barks. Once again, I'm not going to win any awards for camera work of the year. And then, of course, some other fine books. Here's a nice Flash Gordon. You probably won't be able to see because of the darkness in this room. And rounding it off, we have some more Donald Duck and New Teen Titans. Down here we have some more Pogo, Nick Fury, Sergeant Fury, X-Men. By the way, if you have to get any of these epic X-Men, get this one. This one reproduces the 1970s works. So if you stopped reading the X-Men because they were just printing reprints, then all of a sudden in the 70s they made Beast into this blue furry creature, and the X-Men would show up from time to time fighting various people, including Dr. Doom and the Juggernaut and the Avengers. So if you weren't careful, they went from the old reprints, like this one over here, to the Wolverine showing up in the Incredible Hulk. So this is a good one that fills in a lot of the gaps that you may have if you missed those from the 1970s. I wasn't old enough to know all this stuff was going on, so this book is invaluable. And over here, you probably remember these two, these Korak books. I showed them earlier in a previous video. I have a volume of Kazar I've put together. It also includes the team-up when Marvel team-ups the Incredible Hulk and Kazar. I finish off the book with that. It's the, I'll just show you real quick. It's the... They're the issues from the 1970s. But this Tarzan volume, this is pretty sweet. I have enough different colors. You see, this color is slightly different than this color. I decided that I would check out this particular bookbinder and see what all their colors look like. And so here's the splash index showing you what issues I decided to throw in here. There's a little drawing of Russ Manning, the primary artist for this title. And over here I put in a little gag, you know, what's the hurry, Tarzan? Well, I'm off to read the books that Graphic Man has. And here's a sweet little cover there. I'll just thumb through some of these. And if you aren't getting these Superman Chronicles, I think these are a great way to reprint the old classic Action Comics and Superman books. In fact, I wish I had more of them. In fact, I wish I had them all. You see, I have 2, 3, 5, 7. I even have one for Batman. Really nice stuff. This is a great Batman Annuals book. It reproduces the fine story from some of the Batman Annuals with a shocked Robin on the cover. Here's a Brave and Bold volume I put together a long time ago. They made a mini-series. Long time ago, they made a mini-series about this, reproducing some of their best stories. So here's the title I page, and I put each cover that being reproduced. There was a 6 volume of this, and I really liked these 2 issues that I had in my collection, and I went ahead and put them in there. I think this Green Lantern one is a really good story. So let's take a look. We start off with some words. It's the inside cover, and it's the first thing we start with, and I did that on purpose because issue number 1 had a wraparound cover. And so I had it placed that I'd be able to open the book and be able to see it in all its greatness there. So the first one up is a Green Arrow. And I think if you don't want to put your best books in binding format like this, well, then use these good reprints. Then you have them all on the shelf. And the reason I like these, every now and then they would go back and show you stories from the Viking prints. And that's from the 1950s. Those are very hard to get your hands on unless you just happen to be the super collector that I am not. And the occasional Robin Hood story. And they reproduce these in fantastic color. And then of course here's the one I threw in. I love these back covers of the Viking prints. The reason I put this issue in, it had some old stories. Here's the Silent Night. So anyway, and popping down to the next shelf, I have some projects I'm working on, getting them bound. I've already got them on the shelf awaiting. There's Master of Kung Fu. Big deal, you've probably already got those. Terry and the Pirates. Look at that great lighting we're getting here at Graphic Man Studios. There we go. And from my childhood, I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. And here's the movie adaptation. Some of you still remember the theme song. More Steve Canyon. And here's a Christmas parade. Here it is from 1977, the Christmas Parade. And this is my childhood copy, of course with its wrinkles. That shows you how thick it is. Here's the back cover. They basically took all the Christmas stories and what they can get their hands on, and they put them together. Now these are some EC reprints that I have bound together. I did the first one, the weird fantasy, and I threw in some weird science as well. But on the archives, these three right here, I decided I would title them Volume 1, Volume 2, and Volume 3, using the gold lines at the bottom to give them that nice, prestigious look with the EC logo. I highly recommend you get some of these reprints that they put out. Now, I'm not going to bother to bind this. That's already got a very nice binding. Fits wonderfully on the bookshelf. The idea is to let's see how many books we can get out of the old storage bins, out of those old white boxes, and bring those into the living room like I have. Well, the dining room at least. There's that nice volume. Here's one I made for Weird Fantasy. And these are the archives. Now for these, this is the title page I put in there. And it's a mixed bag. So I make a list of all the books I have in here. Now these are all the reprints. And I like to read EC kind of an eclectic way. I like to read a little bit of their science fiction, a little bit of their horror, some of their other stuff thrown in, a mad comic or a panic every now and then. All the stuff you're familiar with. So here's Volume 1. We'll save time and only look at Volume 1. Here's my splash index page. Chamber of Darkness number 8. By the way, I have some more artwork I've put in here. And I tried to put a little index of all the stories that are going to be shown in this volume. And we start with Chamber of Darkness number 8. Why? Well, because it's my book and I wanted to do it that way. And I had a good copy of it. Nice Bernie Wrightson cover. But that's number 8, Chamber of Darkness. The reason that's in here really is this becomes Monsters on the Prowl, and the very next issue is issue number 9, carried over from Chambers. So all the great Kirby and Ditko artwork you can get your hands on. really flies. The bird. This guy used to be Magneto. Then along came the X-Men, so they had to change his name to Magnetor. Here's one you haven't seen in years, The Pilgrim's Progress. Another attempt at Marvel to try to do their best version of Classics Illustrated, I believe. Here's a look at the interiors. So this would be like, I want to say 1990s art. Yeah, it would have to be. Anyway, I don't know how often you guys get to see stuff like this, so I try to show it when I can. For Woody Woodpecker, I decided to go with a white volume, kind of like Scamps, but instead of blue, I went with red and red lettering. And I had some issues of House of Secrets and House of Mystery that I really liked, and I thought I'll go ahead and bind those. Now that's probably going to make somebody upset, and I can't help that. But these are my books. I was never going to resell them, and they would never be in mint condition that anybody would want to pay anything for them. So I make my own little splash title. Throw in some little graphics. And now I have them in the house where they belong, not out in storage somewhere. These are great covers. Absolutely fantastic. Ah, the innocent little children looking in the window. So that's the House of Secrets. Let's take a look at the House of Mystery. Here's the little splash page I made using Cain. The other one used Abel. And then I take some image from one of their books. We start out with a little Silver Age. This is before horror. And I loved this book so much, I put it in there. It's a House of Mystery. And you can do what you want. You don't have to please anybody. You don't have to worry about reselling this. Lots of people do this, and they printed these in the thousands, folks, so there's nothing to get worried about. But those are the science fiction issues. You want to see the scary stuff. I know you. Now from Pacific Comics comes this nice volume, Dick Tracy. I've got a bunch of these. I like it that they actually tell you what dates they're reproducing. This one's obviously from 1936. And I apologize about the glare. If I don't put too much light on it, it gets all blurry. But here's a shot of the interior. So as you can see, it tries to give you the full size of the newspapers back then. The funny pages were huge. And that's by Pacific Comics. I don't know if you're familiar with them. They were in Long Beach, California. But I showed you some of these earlier. This is how they started reproducing the Dick Tracy. Of course, if you have the black one reprints, those are good too. But this one, from day one, the interior, I guess they call this the presentation, is absolutely fabulous. And then they have an interview with Chester Gould. And then you start getting into the actual stories. Printed almost probably the same size. They tried to do their best. And if you haven't read this type of stuff, the great thing about it is you look at the furniture. You look at things like their suitcases. They call the suitcase a grip. G-R-I-P, a grip. I guess because you grip the handles. But it will teach you the culture back in the 1930s. And boy, you didn't mess around back in the 30s. They'd slap you around and really make you regret it. I don't know why I'm giving you that kind of weird commentary. But those were the smaller, here we go. Those were the smaller editions. They got bigger as the years went by. So now we're at, this one's 1944 to 1945. And the hero there is, or the villain there is Flat Top. I'll just quickly show you the presentation on those. Fabulous stuff. So I highly recommend you get those. So now we're in my studio, and here's where some of the drawings take place. This is my drawing table, and looks like I'm drawing a little dog here. But this is a black cabinet that my wife uses. Oh, you probably recognize some of the drawings I've done earlier. Now, the reason my art table doesn't raise up, well, it does raise up, and you see a lot of artists use it at a very high tilt. I keep mine at a very, very moderate tilt because I'm always putting things on there that slide off into the floor. So I try to have the best of both worlds. I kind of make use of it as a table, as you can see all my clutter and junk, but usually lots and lots of comic books. So when I draw underneath, I have in various degrees, I have boxes labeled magic markers, permanent markers, colored pencils, chalk, And, of course, stacks and stacks of more comic books. So back up to the cabinet. There's some recent drawings I've done. Of course, the first one you probably saw was Weird War Tales number 26. And followed by some more. And then this is basically a room full of autographs. Starting in the top corner there is a little girl named Scarlett Palmers. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. And she was a little girl on Star Trek Voyager. Way up top is Erin Gray, and a picture of me with Erin Gray. She was Colonel Wilma Deering in Buck Rogers. And Mr. Ed's autograph, no, not the horse, but I got Alan Young, who played Wilbur. Below them are various Star Trek autographs. They're below Ensign Harry Kim is an alien from one episode of Deep Space Nine. He was on the run and they were chasing him. There's an autographed card of Uhura. Here's a couple of... This guy, Bill Blair, was an alien stand-in on many of the Deep Space Nine episodes. Of course, you recognize Quark and Odo and Jadzia and Nog and Chase Masterson and Rom and Odo. And of course the glare is going to be lousy here. I'll switch angles. And so way up here is Avery Brooks as Cisco. Below him is, terrible glare here, is Roxanne Dawson, who played the Klingon on Voyager. Have her autograph in a plaque, and then I sent her a couple of cards in the mail. She signed them to me and my wife. And down here we have Mr. Fiedler, and he was on an episode of Star Trek as Jack the Ripper, alive and well, and he also was the voice of Piglet. So I've put a little picture of Winnie the Pooh and Piglet in there. There's Denise Crosby and the Borg Queen. Above her, there's a lady named Donna Murphy. She was in the Star Trek movie Insurrection. And then various autographed cards you get out of packs of cards from the Star Trek series. There's Dwight Schultz, played Lieutenant Barclay. There he is with my wife. You probably recognize him from the A-Team. He played the crazy guy Murdoch. Now way up there is my large Planet of the Apes combination Ben-Hur. Basically things that Charlton Heston was into. There's an autograph of Kim Hunter, who played, I think her name was Dr. Zira. It's been a while since I watched it. And Linda Harrison, who played Nova with Charlton Heston. Then I had this picture from Ben-Hur. It's a chariot race scene. And I sent it to Charlton Heston. He signed it. He also signed this other color picture of Ben-Hur. And a picture from Planet of the Apes he signed. Charlton Heston was also kind enough to send me, I didn't ask for it, but he sent me his, I guess his movie Screen Actors Guild poster. Then I have some autographs from Nova, Linda Harrison. And there she is with Charlton Heston. Then above that is James Gregory. Now that's him on the left, and as he looks in real life. And then as he's dressed up as the gorilla from Beneath the Planet of the Apes. The only good human is a dead human. And I sent him this little card from Star Trek. He signed it, and then you can't really make it out, but then he wrote me a letter, and in the letter he signed it, and he tells me to date all my letters. He wants all my letters to contain the date, I guess. I think he was trying to give me a tip that in the long run, you'll wish you knew, when did I write this letter? When did I write that letter? Of course, I have Patrick Stewart's autograph with Commander Riker, Jonathan Frakes. And, here's Janet Leigh. She's the poor lady that gets killed in the shower of the movie Psycho. But she was also in Manchurian Candidate. And there's Ricardo Montalban. He gave me that picture of himself, and I sent him these 2 Star Trek cards, which he signed in a very nice silver ink. They showed up pretty good. No, I'm not exactly a Razorbacks fan. I'm more of a SEC fan. Those just belong to my wife. And next to Ricardo is Terry Garr. That was the episode they were trying to introduce another sitcom with a guy who has a cat that's really a secretary or something crazy like that. Here is Michael Ansara, Kang, one of the first Klingons on Star Trek. I sent him this card, and he sent it back to me in a record 8 days, signed and everything. Here is J.G. Hertzler. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. He played Martok. He was the Klingon that only had one eye. So I have a few of his autographs. And, by the way, that's me up there meeting him in Tulsa, Oklahoma. This picture of him, he played an alien on Voyager. And I just printed it out and had him sign it. He was very, very impressed with it. He wanted copies for himself. And then up here we have some more of those autographs you get out of packs of cards. And here we have Tom Paris. And seen him in Kansas City. Seen Spock, seen Leonard Nimoy a lot. He showed up at a lot of the conventions I was at, and I have an autograph with him and William Shatner. Very small, but I got it. Then over in the corner is Spock with Q. You talk about showing up. Q would show up to everything. And here from the first Star Trek shows was, I think it was named Commodore William Decker. And he gave me a nice autograph there. For those of you that remember the first movie, the motion picture, in the story, his son shows up and is going to help out Kirk and Spock, and I don't think Kirk appreciates that too much. And here, I apologize that it's blurry, but that is Frank Gorshin. He played the Riddler on Batman, but he also played one of these aliens that was half black and half white. And then the little card next to that, that's from he's the brother of Ron Howard. I think his name's Clint Howard. That's right. Sorry about that. And there's a Outer Limits autograph. Here's some DVDs no one cares about. And there's Catherine Hayes. She was the empath on Star Trek. She was in, I think, a soap opera of some kind. And here is Jason Alexander. You remember him from the TV show Seinfeld. He played an alien on Voyager. The blurry guy next to me above the little car is Morn, the guy that didn't talk on Deep Space Nine. That's him in real life. There's Peter Graves. No one cares. Now, I just showed you Jason Alexander right there from Seinfeld. The guy that played Seinfeld's father, Jerry Stiller. That's the black and white photo there. Up next is Warren Stevens. His picture is sideways, and his picture is straight up and down above him. He was on an episode of Star Trek. Also, if you want to see some good acting, get the Twilight Zone episode called Dead Man's Shoes. He was in that. Next to him is James Darren, who played the holograph nightclub singer on Deep Space Nine. He also co-starred with Shatner on T.J. Hooker. Then in the top corner is Gary Lockwood from the one of the pilot episodes of Where No Man Has Gone Before. And he was in 2001 Space Odyssey. Below that is, I'm centered in on him now, Roy Walton. He was the gardener on Star Trek. Here he is with Voyager. But he's more well known for playing my favorite Martian. And when I sent him that card he signed, I got it back in the mail. He died 7 days later. Here's Jerry Ryan from Voyager. Here is, I forget her name, but she was in That episode, I think East of Eden was the name of the episode. There's Jill from The Outer Limits. Got that in a pack of cards. There's the great Roy Rogers. You see, my collecting is very eclectic. And above Roy Rogers, we have Robert Duvall. Not the best image I have, but he signed 2 cards for me. And above that is Grace Lee Whitney. She played Yeoman Rand. You can't really make it out. The picture's blurry, but that's me dressed as a Klingon standing next to her. And there is Worf's brother. I think his name was Kern. There is Yvonne Craig. She played an Orion slave girl, best known as Batgirl. There's from the episode Elaine of Troyes. There's Voyager's Doctor. These are all autographed if you can't tell. And there is Battlestar Galactica. Picture of me and my wife with him. And there's Lieutenant Boomer from Battlestar Galactica. And behind him is an actual astronaut, Rick Seacross. I'm sure I'm mispronouncing all these names. There's a Batman album autographed by Adam West. Some Roy Rogers things. Some nice doodads in the cabinet. It was a corner cabinet built into the house. And I'll try to get in closer, but you're not missing much. And over there is Bobby Clark. That's a picture of Kirk, William Shatner, standing next to Bobby Clark. Bobby Clark was the Gorn, the lizard guy. And above that is a picture of me and my wife with Bobby Clark. You'd never recognize him without his mask. There, next to him in the same frame, is Julie Newmar. And she's best known as Catwoman. Me with her. Another shot of Grace Lee Whitney. Another autograph. A guy from Outer Limits. That is, well, if the name escapes me, Eleanor Donahue. She was the lady pharmacist on Mayberry. And for some reason they got rid of her. But she was also the middle daughter on Father Knows Best. And there's Dr. Crusher, Garrick. Bumped into him in an elevator once in Kansas City. You probably don't recognize Garrick. Garrick was the Scorpio killer from the Dirty Harry movie. And Gowron and Martok team up. Little bitty card in the middle. You can't really concentrate. Between all the frames, there's a little bitty card. And that is Neelix from Voyager. Have a spatula hanging up on the wall. He played the cook on Voyager. He also signed that. But before we get to him, there's Tuvok and Scotty, James Doohan. And then some artwork I've done. There's a monitor. So you're in our studio where some of the magic happens.